You want a modern example of a true glamour goddess of a woman, then look no further than Dita Von Teese. She is one of the rare people, I think, in Hollywood at the moment who is a genuinely glamorous person. She doesn't put it on and then take it off. She genuinely carries glamour with her throughout her entire life. She has always loved glamour and she pursues glamour in everything that she does, and that really shows when she comes across in interviews or she performs or she shares on her Patreon, which I'm a subscriber of because I'm a big fan of hers. And she also has a book called Your Beauty Mark. I have it behind me here. It is a really beautiful coffee table display book as well, but it has some incredible gems of how she became her own authentic beauty. Eccentric beauty is what she calls it because it's something that's maybe a little bit different from the norm. She was not always the norm. She wasn't always following trends. She was following what she truly felt was herself. Being glamorous is a lifestyle. It is about being a glamorous person in everything that you do. And so in this video, I'm going to share some tips with you that I have gathered from reading Dita Von Teese's book and looking at her interviews and genuinely just being obsessed with her. And I'm going to share with you the tips that I think that she uses in order to be a glamorous person in her everyday life. All of these tips which I've used myself, and I'm also enjoying being a glamorous person like Dita Von Teese. So if you want to be glamorous too, then keep on watching. So the first thing that I noticed that Dita Von Teese does, which I think just makes her such a charming and interesting and glamorous person, is that she fills her home with her own personal collections of things. And you might be like, right, of course, everybody has their own collection of things. Everybody has clothes, mugs, whatever. But what I'm trying to tell you is, like, look at the reaction to her Architectural Digest video. It's just way better. It just stands out completely from all the other homes, celebrity homes that are shared on that page, because she genuinely has put herself into every single aspect of her home, and it's just fascinating to see. And for me, that's not the type of home that I would want, as in it's not my style, the way she has done things, but I can appreciate it and I find it so beautiful and so fascinating because it so deeply resonates with her. And she just has all of these collections and she really is passionate about it, and it really comes across. And I think that being a collector, having a collection and being genuinely interested in the items that you purchase and that you display and what you decide to do with your home, that is such an alluring and glamorous thing because it makes you an interesting person. It's a conversation starter. I mean, Dita Von Teese loves collecting vintage clothing. She also collects vintage pinup art, and she collects books about burlesque. She has a whole library. She has this beautiful vintage glassware collection that is just to die for, and I would really love to know where she got all those pieces. But these kind of things just make you such an intriguing person. They make people want to know more about you, and they make you just so alluring and glamorous. It was just such a refreshing thing to see because all the other homes on Architectural Digest videos, which I do watch because I find them very interesting to see, you know, how celebrities decide to design their homes, they look like they're out of a brochure. They look like copy paste. You couldn't match the person with the home. But Dita has infused every aspect of herself into that home, and it is so beautiful to see. That is just the creation of oneself, and then being able to manifest that into collections and into things that genuinely mean something to you is just such a wonderful way to be. And I know I did make a video before about my perfume collection and how it was getting a little bit out of hand, but Dita Von Teese does have a perfume collection. I follow her on Patreon, as I said, and she does have a video sharing her perfume collection. And you know, over the years, she has collected these perfumes, vintage perfumes she has been gifted by perfumers because, of course, she's friends with people like Jean-Paul Gaultier, and she has all of these fancy perfumes. But even having a perfume collection is something that I have found myself. It makes me feel very glamorous, and it's a lovely conversation starter because every time someone enters my home, it's not just a regular copy-paste rental apartment. It has parts of me injected into it that people can admire and ask questions about, and people find it really intriguing and interesting. So yeah, I believe that that's a really key factor of what made her Architectural Digest video so wonderful, is that she has all of these fascinating collections, and it's just interesting. It just shows that she is an interesting person, and of course we all are. So I believe that we should start injecting more of that into our outer world. Instead of spending our time endlessly scrolling, we could be reading and developing a taste in a certain niche genre of books, and then we can have a collection of that, and we can talk to people about it, and we can enjoy it, and it just gives such joy to be able to see yourself and your personality reflected in the things that you own, rather than them just being frivolous things that don't mean much. The second thing that she does that might be a little more obvious, but definitely has to be mentioned, is that she is a self-creator. She has self-actualized into the person that she truly is. So what does that mean? She isn't somebody who has created an alter ego. She used to be called Heather Sweet, and now she's called Dita Von Teese. But she always says that this isn't her alter ego. This is just her innermost self, what she truly identifies with. And, you know, she has naturally blonde hair, but she's dyed her hair jet black since she was probably a teenager. And that's because that's what she identifies with the most. She grew up watching old Hollywood movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s with her mother, and she identified so much with the ladies in those movies. She thought, I'm gonna grow up and be glamorous just like them. And she was obsessed with it. Even when she took ballet as a kid, she realized it wasn't the dancing that she actually liked. It was the outfits and the theater of it all, how glamorous it was. So she was always attracted to glamorous things. She has created the identity of Dita Von Teese out of all of these little things throughout her life, which she has deeply resonated with or identified with, and that are important to her. And she's created an image from it, and she's created a persona from it, and she's actually self-actualized as someone that she has created in her head, someone that she wished to be all her life and finally became. And so even with her fashion, she's not strictly, oh, I only like 1940s vintage. She uses some modern elements in her fashion. She also wears some 30s, some 50s. She doesn't have any specific era that she's more interested in than others, or she's not very strict about it. She's just entirely herself with her fashion and with who she is. Even though she's a performer and she's very sort of out there with what she does, it's not something that every woman would have the confidence to do. She also identifies with herself being a very shy person, and she knows that she can marry the two because that's who she is, and she accepts herself for who she is, and she embraces it and embodies it to the fullest degree. She has created herself. Out of all of the things that she loves, she's created herself. What I would ask you is, I'm sure you have had similar experiences growing up thinking, oh my gosh, I love Disney princesses, or you know, you also might like old Hollywood. A lot of women look up to old stars or princesses or fairies or different things that just inspire us and excite us and make us feel a certain kind of way. It might even be the stars of the 90s. You might really identify with that, or there might be a part of that that has always resonated with you and always fascinated with you for some reason. So I say, it's a great thing to just go for it and create yourself out of all these little things that make you unique and all these little things that you can identify with. You don't have to be this specific kind of person to pursue what you want to pursue. For example, Dita Von Teese is quite shy, so it seems a little bit strange that she would go for such a career where she's a performer and she's, you know, the star of the show. But that's who she is, and she accepts that, and she has created that. She doesn't have an internal battle with that, thinking, okay, now that I'm a performer, I should be a little bit confident. No, she's like, well, when I'm performing, I'm just going to be genuine, and I'm gonna have a laugh with it, and giggle, and like be a little bit silly when I know I'm a bit embarrassed. And that's what the crowd really responds to, because it's authentically her. And so being a self-creator, being an individual, not following trends, it's something that's said a lot, that, you know, it's not good to follow trends because it's not who you are. It's just, you know, the TikTok algorithm telling you who you are. So it's obviously a little bit dangerous to follow trends, because you'll never truly find yourself in trends, right? You might identify with one trend more than another, and that might lead you on a path to really finding yourself and in your creativity, but you're not a trend. Nobody is. Nobody is 100% a clean girl. It's just not the case. Everybody has different things throughout their life which they've identified with and enjoyed and loved. And once you mesh all of that together, you really create a unique, one of a kind person. So you no longer feel like you're not good enough, because you're not competing with anybody, right? You're not clean girl number 550 on the algorithm. You're yourself. So it's very important, I think, for all people, individuals, and especially women, because we're so overly concerned with our looks, to pursue something like glamour, just like Dita Von Teese has, because of the pure love for it, because it's something that we have always identified with. And I know a lot of women can relate to this, from being a little girl and being so fascinated watching your mother apply lipstick, or wearing those little plastic click-clack princess heels as quick as you could, even though they were giving you blisters. You just really wanted to wear them because they were glamorous, right? They were sparkly and interesting and beautiful, and those things that we keep with us. And when we're adults, there's no need to let them just fall by the wayside, and we don't show up to the occasion as ourselves. Like, I love wearing heels. If you don't, that's totally fine, but it's always something that's been in me, and it's always something that has made me feel so incredibly confident. And so I do it every day because I know that is part of who I am. And I wasn't born in heels, I wasn't born in makeup, but these things, these little touches of glamour, are what make us interesting, what make us beautiful, what make us fascinating. It's a real art to become self-actualized. It's a real art to be a creative in who you are. It's not easy. So looking up to people like Dita Von Teese, it's great to read her book on eccentric beauty, because it is so liberating not to feel like you have to look a certain way or have to be a certain kind of woman, because we all have these identifiers and these unique things that are so incredibly intriguing and beautiful you wouldn't even realize, because a lot of the time you're not really pursuing that side of yourself. Being a creative and creating your own self, your own image, your own persona in a way, is a really fulfilling way to live a glamorous life. So an absolute must in living glamorously like Dita Von Teese is wearing lingerie. Wearing lingerie is something that can really be done for oneself, and Dita Von Teese is a real pioneer of that. She really wants women to know that you can wear lingerie just for yourself. It doesn't have to be for an occasion, because when you wear lingerie every day and it just feels so natural to you, then you will enter a sort of realm of self-seduction where you feel genuinely seductive naturally. It's something that comes naturally to you. So it's not fake anymore. It's not a show. It's not for somebody else. It's something that's deeply intimate in your own womanhood. And it's just for you and nobody else knows. And it's a little bit of a confidence booster when you're wearing lingerie and no one knows, and you can just feel sexy. Just make yourself feel sexy, because why not? And I feel like a lot of us don't do this enough. And it definitely really affects our confidence, because when we do wear lingerie, for example, we don't feel comfortable. We feel fake. We feel like we're not the kind of woman, or that's not us. So Dita Von Teese really, she has a lingerie line. I feel like my whole video I'm just promoting like everything, like subscribe to her Patreon, buy her book, and buy her lingerie. I will say I haven't bought her lingerie yet, but I definitely will in the future because it is beautiful, and it's done so well, and she has this insanely gorgeous vintage style, and she does make some vintage style lingerie as well, which is just amazing. But anyway, yeah, so even if you're single, you think it's pointless. It's not. It's actually a really important way to develop in your womanhood and just be mysterious and glamorous and have this little secret with yourself. It's not about other people. And that's something that we really need to get into our heads, because I feel like not enough of us understand it, even if we say it, that wearing lingerie is for myself, it's not for him. But you don't truly understand what that means. And so if you really explore wearing lingerie all the time, then you will start to understand what it means. Another thing that Dita Von Teese does to live glamorously is that she has always had these glamour icons that she looks up to. Like when she was starting to get into burlesque and into pinup modeling, she would say to herself, I'm going to be the next Betty Page. Like she had a certain vision of herself in someone else. And it's really important to have people to look up to and icons. And especially as women, we do tend to feel a little bit intimidated by other women, when really we should see them as inspiration. I mean, there's so many parts of other women that we would like to develop in ourselves, and that we can, just like with all of our favorite things, we can identify ourselves in them. And we don't need to immediately know what exactly that means. Like if we identify with some woman, that doesn't mean we want every aspect of her life. But there might be certain things about her style, or about the way she holds herself, the way she talks, or the way she moves, or the way she dresses, that you really identify with and you really like. And so it's great to have all these famous women to look up to. And yeah, even people like Dita Von Teese do it. So if you don't do it, I would highly recommend finding your inspirations, because they will really help guide you in your self-actualization, in creating yourself and becoming the most glamorous version of you. Next thing is a little fun one, but it is finding your signature lipstick. Now, Dita Von Teese wears a red lip. I have also, for the past like maybe 4 or 5 months, been wearing strictly red lipstick. I love red lipstick, and I have become a sort of person who only wears red lipstick now. I've never really liked pink. I've always done a sort of like brownish red, but now I'm just fully into red lipsticks. And I know it's very hard to find a good shade for yourself, but something really glamorous to do is to just constantly pursue the perfect red lipstick until you find your signature red. Now, I have not exactly found my perfect red yet. I know what it would be like. I am on the hunt. But Dita Von Teese, for example, she always talks about how for years, she has worn MAC Ruby Woo, which a lot of celebrities wear. It's a very popular color. And also she wears Russian red. So that's a fun thing. If you want to have a lipstick just like Dita Von Teese, then, you know, pick up yourself some Ruby Woo or Russian red from MAC, because they're actually really affordable lipsticks. And some of the MAC red lipsticks are so freaking good. I own a few myself. Avant Garnet is really nice. And Ring the Alarm is the other one that I really like. So those are 2 red lipsticks that I would recommend. But red lipstick is very personal. It's very like about your skin tone and what suits you. So a really glamorous thing to do is just go out there and try a lot of red lipsticks, or lipsticks in general, and find your signature lip that people always ask you about, because it suits you just perfectly. And the last and very important tip on living life glamorously like Dita Von Teese is to be mysterious. That is a huge element of glamour, is the unseen. What's not seen, what's hidden. It's alluring, it's interesting, it's seductive, and it's something that she has always kept, like, she has always understood, because she used to work at a strip club and she had her own very unique style compared to all the girls back in the 90s who were like the tanned, like, blonde bombshells. She was more of like an old Hollywood pinup girl, and she would wear these corsets, and people would really wonder what was underneath the corset because nobody else was wearing a corset. So it was kind of an interesting, intriguing thing, and people would think, oh, does she have a scar under there, or like, is her waist really that small? What is it like? So it kind of gave that element of mystery, and it made her more intriguing. And apparently men would pay her for her to take her corset off because they were just dying to see what was underneath. And so she understood, I think, from a very young age that keeping things hidden, whether they're physically like that, or just in general, like, she is very private about her relationships and she doesn't talk much about her personal life. She's very much just about her work and glamour, and even in interviews she's so elegant and so graceful. When people ask her very personal questions, she's amazing at answering them without giving away things that just go beyond her boundaries. She sets her boundaries really firm, and she is very mysterious, and people really want to know more. I mean, that's why I'm subscribed to her Patreon. I just want to know more. I just want to hear her talk. And I feel like this really seems like a Dita Von Teese advertisement, this whole thing. But I'm just really, really obsessed with her because I love glamour icons, I love old Hollywood, and I feel like she's one of the few people out there doing that successfully, doing her own thing. She has a really unique career. As she always says, she didn't even know, like, that this could be a career. There was no burlesque star before her that was still going when she was getting interested in burlesque. Burlesque just wasn't this really big thing anymore, and so the fact that she has become famous for that, it just goes to show that, like, she's so authentic, and her eccentric beauty and her self-actualization and just being so glamorous and so creative has really paid off and really caught a lot of people's attention. So I could talk about Dita Von Teese forever, but that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!